What is up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing fine. Today I have chosen another poem of John Donne to explain, that is a valediction forbidding mourning. So if you have not checked the previous videos of explanations of John Donne's poetry, I will give the links in the description box below. So without further ado, let us begin. Before delving into the text, let us discuss a few things. This poem, A Valediction, is a poem about farewell. John Donne's biographer Izaak Walton wrote that this poem was written for John Donne's wife and Moore in the year 1611, when Donne was ready to go on a trip to the continents with Robert Root. Look at the title, Forbidding Mourning. The word forbidding is a very powerful word. It means to not allow. Mourning is not allowed, and the entire poem explores why mourning is not allowed. The word mourning is also very important to note. This is one emotion associated with death or extreme loss. In this case, the relation depicted by Donne in this poem is so deep that the separation not only creates tear between the lovers but also a death-like experience, mourning. The poem functions as a reassurance that their love will not be affected by the departure of the poetic voice. Let us look at the text. Stanza 1. A virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to their souls to go, whilst some of their sad friends do say, the breath goes now, and some say no. Donne begins the poem with an extended simile. This simile does not end in this stanza. This continues in the next stanza also. Here, he talks about virtuous men. All the virtuous men, they die very peacefully because they have guilt-free conscience. They know that when they will die, they will get the eternal bliss in heaven. Hence, they are very peaceful in their deathbed. Donne here represents the friends and the family members of the person who are gathered around the deathbed. They are very much confused when the last breath is drawn, because the death is so peaceful. The sense of peace is conveyed through the sibilant sounds phonetically, and whisper to their souls go to go, while some of their sad friends do say. The sibilant sound in these lines show the gentle way of Donne. Another way to show this gentleness of death is the euphemistic word pass. Donne uses the word pass to denote death. He does not use the harsh word die. And Donne renders even more gentleness by associating the adverb mildly with pass. The death is so peaceful that the person passes mildly, it seems. And this peace is even deeply showed by the association of the word whisper, the sound of peacefulness. Let us look at the second stanza. So let us melt and make no noise, no tear floods, nor shy tempests move. It were profanation of our joys to tell the lady our love. The way the poem moves from the first stanza to the second stanza is very smooth. The smooth departure of the poetic voice is represented by the smooth transition from the first stanza to the second stanza. How this transition becomes smooth? The last word of the first stanza and the first word of the second stanza, they rhyme. And this rhyme helps the peaceful transition, the smooth transition from one stanza to the next. The poetic voice wants to depart in this peaceful manner. He uses the word melt to talk about the peaceful departure. The word melt, this is a word which shows the change which is almost imperceptible. So, the way the lovers should cope the separation is like melting. The Elizabethan way of using the word melt means to succumb to the emotions. Emotions are inevitable, but the lover should control how to display. This is not a forbidding way of telling that the woman should be quiet. The pronoun is us. It means the pair, the couple should deal with the separation in a very silent manner. They should not cry out and cause trouble to other people. Donne uses the Petrarchan imagery of heightened emotions affecting various things in nature. Heightened emotions are shown in the compound nouns tear floods, shy tempests. We have seen that in other poems like the Canonization and Nocturnal upon St. Lucy's Day, Donne has used Petrarchan imagery and said that this kind of display of emotion is not appropriate. Here also he uses these heightened emotions in compound nouns to show that these are cliches and these should be rejected all at once. Donne raises the lovers to somehow in a different plane altogether. They are not like the common people. Their love is raised up to a religious standard, and to display these heightened emotions will be a sacrilegious thing to do. That will be a profanation. And also, the other people, the common people, the laity, should not be able to assess their love. And this could be possible if they freely express their emotions. So they should keep their emotions low and they should not cry out loud to lament the separation. The peaceful and calm nature of their relationship is denoted by the soft consonant sounds at the end of each line noise, move, joys, love. All these soft sounds show that their relationship is a very peaceful, very calm. Let us move on to the third stanza. Moving of the earth brings harms and fears. Men reckon what it did and meant. But trepidation of the spheres, though greater far, is innocent. Donne here adopts the cosmological conceit to show the value of peace. He suggests that an earthquake, the moving of the earth, can cause the human beings fear and trouble. This moving of the earth draws the attention of the human beings, and the people see thinks that this is significant and considers it as the portent of evil. We can have an example from Macbeth. When Duncan was murdered, and the next morning Macduff and Lennox came to Macbeth's castle, Lennox describes the weather, the situation of the nature. He says that the earth was feverish and did shake. So, in this very line, something ominous was going to happen is denoted. That is how the earthquake can show that something evil might happen. However, Donne adopts the Ptolemaical cosmology of the movement of the spheres, that is the trepidation. He says that the movement of the sphere is far greater in scale compared to the earthquake. But It is innocent. The people do not feel this movement of the earth, hence, they do not connect it with something evil. That is why this movement of the earth is very innocent. To love in great scale does not need the heightened display of emotions. A person can love in a greater scale very silently, and in this way, it avoids causing fear, trouble, and damage to the other people. Let us look at the fourth stanza. Dull sublunary lovers love, whose soul is sense cannot admit absence, because it doth remove those things which elemented it. Done here elevates the lovers he is representing in a very high place. He says that all the other lovers they are sublunary. Sublunary means below the moon. All the other lovers live in a life that is below the moon. It is believed that the fall has created blight of sin on earth. But the heavenly bodies and spheres are untarnished. Done places his lovers above the mundane world in a spiritual and pure dimension. The awkward, debased lover's love is described in that way in this stanza that it stops the fluency, the fluent movement of the stanza. The sublunary lovers have a love that is limited by their physical attraction and physical need, and they cannot love beyond these physical aspects. That is why their love is lost whenever there is a separation, because their attraction is completely based on the physicality, and the absence of the physical love can lead to the destruction of the relationship. The verb elemented is notable here. It complements the sense that the lovers are shackled to their physical aspects. Their love is based on physical elements rather than the spiritual elements. But the love between the poetic voice and his beloved stay on a spiritual level. There is a sense of oxymoron created with two words appearing next to one another, admit and absence. Done puns on the word admit, which means to allow in or to accept. The juxtaposition of absence, which means not being present, creates the oxymoronic effect. Let us move on to the next answer. But we buy a love so refined that ourselves know not what it is, interassured of the mind, careless lips, eyes, and hands to miss. Done here uses an alchemical conceit. Their love is so refined that it is distilled. It is devoid of all the other things that the mundane or lesser lovers love suffer from. But this love is so pure, so refined that even the lovers do not know how pure is it. They are interassured. That means they know one another so deeply that they are so sure of one another. There is no infidelity, no break of the trust. Dan here gives a list of different body parts: eyes, lips, and hands. This is done to show the careless attitude towards the physicality of love. But the physical nature of the love is not altogether avoided, because Donne lingers on each body part before concluding the stanza with the word miss. Unlike the love of other dull sublunary lovers, their love is based on the spiritual level and not only the physicality. That is why their love can withstand the separation. Let us move on to the next stanza. Our two souls, therefore, which are one, Though I must go, endure not yet a breach, but an expansion, like gold to airy thinness beat. Donne presents here a paradox. Their souls are not separated, their souls should not be considered as two, but they are one. They share one unified bonding of the souls. They are so inextricably linked to one another. And this could be a reference to the self, this could be a reference to the inner assured of the previous stanza. So their soul is united, and that is why when the physical separation happens, their connection is not broken. There is not a break or breach. Rather, the soul expands to fill the gap of the physical separation. Look here. Here, the word expand is to be noted. The soul, no matter how much it is stretched, it does not break. It expands into the airy thinness. That means their love has the flexibility to withstand the separation, the physical separation. Because on the spiritual level, they are always connected. And their love is of greater value, and that is signified by the comparison of gold. Let us look at the next answer. If they be two, they are two so, as stiff twin compasses are two. Thy soul, the fixed foot, makes no show to move, but thou doth, if the other do. Donne here employs the most daring conceit of his canon. He compares the two lovers with the two legs of one compass. If the two lovers have to be considered as two separate beings, then they should be considered as the two legs of the compass, in which sense the two legs of the compass are two separate beings. But they are always bound by the hinge, the center. Here, this concept is very much important to note because Donne is about to go on a voyage by sea, and a compass is necessary to map out the route. And he compares the two lovers with the compass. So, the still foot of the compass is compared to the soul of the woman. It is very apt because the woman is left behind and the other foot moves in order to complete the circle. But it always comes back to the center. So the center, the foot holds the bound together, and so the center does not move. It only moves to reach out to the other leg, to follow the other leg. The compass concept is carried forward even in the next answer. And though it the center set, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it, and grows erect as that comes home. Then says that the still center should remain at the center, and the other leg moves here and there, but it always has to come back to the center in order to be together. The two legs of the compass are very stiff. It also denotes that the poetic voice doesn't want to leave, but he leaves forcefully. There is a sense of reluctance to leave the beloved behind. The woman, the woman is the center foot of the compass. This can also mean that the woman is the center of attraction of the poetic voice. So it suggests the focal point of the attention. The wife is at the center, which also reminds us of the imagery of love's growth, which were all concentric onto thee. The line, it leans and hearkens after it. It shows the point of lamenting or the absence, the loss. The Other foot of the compass, the poetic voice which moves around, always feels the absence and the loss, and he is always connected to the center. And the last line of the stanza grows erect as that comes home. We have seen that Donne has employed sexual puns. Here, the grows erect can also mean the physical erection. But looking at this context, it is the woman's soul which grows erect when as that comes home. So it could be the reference to the woman's pride when the husband comes home. The poetic voice may also be referring that she should also feel proud because it is she who held up this center and remained loyal, and that is why he could come back home. This concept is even further carried into the last stanza. Such wilt thou be to me, who must, like the other foot, obliquely run. Thy firmness make the circle just, and makes me end where I began. The poetic voice here also compares himself to the loose foot of the compass, which is necessary to move here and there to make the circle complete. But it is only possible if the center remains strong and steadfast. The center is the beloved, and the beloved remains loyal and faithful to the lover. And that is why the lover can always come back where he has just begun. And he has to come back because they are hitched together. So their love will not suffer because of the physical distance. There is the assurance that no matter what, the lover will always come back home because the beloved is always steadfast and loyal. So, thus, we see the entire poem conveys that their separation should not be something to mourn upon. This separation will not damage the relationship, the love they share. I hope that this explanation was helpful to you. And if you like this, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.